All right, so in attack techniques, my first concern here is the student body. I'm reluctant to teach most of these techniques to normal high school students. Now, a few times I've had more advanced high school students who do things like go to a college class, and that's fine. And I suppose something like a high school club or an AP class or something, you might have students that are above average in maturity and discipline, and it might be okay to teach this stuff there. But in general, this is the stuff you don't want high school students to know, because they will go hack something and get you all in trouble. So it's a consideration. However, some of this stuff is just harmless background stuff, and I'll point that out. But the most exciting stuff here, of course, is where you learn how to hack into servers and web services, and that is exactly what you really don't want people casually doing without permission and getting in trouble. So I caution those of you that are high school teachers to might not want to cover this material in those classes, but use something defensive like Splunk. However, I mentioned a few of these. The first thing is binary games. Now, you saw some binary games yesterday in the forensics class, and I should explain why there's more of it here. So I handed out these binary games to my students for a while, and then I got a student saying, "Hey, it's easy to cheat on this game." And I said, "You're right." And therefore, as I mentioned yesterday, when students hack me, or for that matter, when they cheat in an interesting way, they get extra credit. And so what I did was I took the same binary games, and there's the same ones that we talked about yesterday with nibbles, bytes, and hex. And these you have to get 10 in a row right to find a flag. And then I made ones where you have to get 200 in a row right to find the flag. And the idea here is to frustrate you so you'll cheat. I don't want anybody to actually do 200 reps. That's insane. What you should do is figure out how to cheat. And I tried to make it a little harder to cheat on each level. And if you know anything about web design or browsers, you should be able to cheat on some of these and check it out. And it'd be interesting to see what techniques people find. But you certainly, for none of these games, you don't have to play the game. You can just cheat. There are quite a few techniques. So that would be a fun thing to try and find. And the other thing, which I think is entirely appropriate for high school students and anybody, is if you're new to Linux, I highly recommend this page, Linux Journey. And I put it in my scoring engines. You can be you can get scores in my system if you like, but it has its own page here. And all right, seems to record clicks. All right, so this page has little lessons in Linux. And each lesson has a little page of text to read and then a quiz with one question about it and another. And it's really very nice. It explains the different types of Linux, the origin of Linux, and then all the basic command line commands in a very nice way. So it's a very good introduction to get people started using Linux commands. And I recommend it to all my students to go through this. Then I'll mention the next two I would skip if you're a beginner. The Bandit Challenges is a very famous list of challenges where you connect to a server by SSH, and then you have to find the password, and that gives you the password for the next level and the next level. And each time you go to a page, the password is more and more hidden, and you have to learn more and more advanced Linux commands to find it. And in general, I don't really need my students to know any real advanced commands. We only use simple basic Linux commands. So I don't find, after the first 2 or 3 levels, I don't think this is really terribly relevant to my classes, but it's a very classic thing. A lot of people do it. And they made versions of it for Windows too, for PowerShell. There's 2 similar ones where you have a Windows server, you connect, and you have to issue more and more complicated PowerShell commands to find the hidden password to get to the next level. So those are interesting if you want to dive deeply into Linux commands and deeply into PowerShell. So those are the basics, and most of them I think are pretty much fine for any student. So let me just stop this video. You can try some of them if you like.